we come to the third Sunday of Lent. The readings change from year to year. There's different cycles, as you know, A, B, and C. The B cycle takes us to some very special and important readings. The first reading of this Sunday's Mass is something so familiar to us, we may just sort of sit there, as you might say, we're addicted to hearing those words. But maybe it's good that we hear them once again. This is the Decalogue. That's that fancy name for the Ten Commandments. The Decalogue of God that was given to Moses and handed down to the children of Israel. And that Decalogue that is still, you might say, the law of God for us human beings. Now, to be honest with you, you and I know that Decalogue of God, those 10 Commandments, have been so ridiculed sometimes, we know have been so often violated by us human beings in so many different and varied ways, that in some ways we've almost considered it's interesting, but it doesn't really apply because it's just too difficult, or it doesn't mean too much. St. Paul, in the letter to the Corinthians that is part of our Mass today, says something very interesting. He says, "For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength." He is, first of all, talking about the crucifixion and death of our Lord. The cross is the foolishness of God, and it is stronger than human strength, what Jesus did on the cross. However, it can be also applied to these 10 Commandments. In some ways, as human beings, we belittle them. We don't take them seriously. We look at them in terms of our world. We have, "Thou shalt not kill." And what do we have recently? Again, another sad story. One of those unbelievable stories of a mother trying to kill her children, supposedly because her boyfriend doesn't like them. A little 6-year-old boy was on the front page of newspapers and other news events. You could just see this little 6-year-old said that she pushed him out of the car, said, "Stay here," and drove the car away, and he realized she was running away from him. He ran after her and tried to get in the car, and she ran over her own son, then later threw him in the river, the Ohio River. I mean, could that possibly be? "Thou shalt not kill." Especially, you want to say, for a mother, that shouldn't be at all even in her thoughts. And yet, the killing of children, it goes on. I mean, all we have to just look at abortion, how simple it is, or how easy people look at it. It's my option to keep the child or not keep the life. That's my option. Well, that's not possible. Now, when God says, "Thou shalt not kill," "Thou shalt not commit adultery," and again, all the forms of infidelity that go on by men and women in society today, might say, some people say that's laughable to even make a commandment about "Thou shalt not commit adultery." "Thou shalt not steal." And the hackers are at it in every inventive way to take what is not theirs by trickery or deceit. "Thou shalt not steal." You know, in some ways, this is a you might say, this foolishness of God, these 10 Commandments, are wiser than human wisdom. We, as human beings, have become, you might say, totally, we make excuses. Isn't it interesting how we make excuses? How we try to redefine what certain things mean. Now, of course, like in law, killing has many variants. We call it. There's murder, first-degree murder. There's manslaughter. There's accidental homicide. There's all sorts of different kinds of levels of responsibility. But the underlying responsibility is there. Just recently, a dump truck had left his top up, his dumper, whatever you call it, the end of the truck up, as he left a construction site and hit a highway sign. That highway sign came down on another car. It was directly related. That trucker, because of not following the proper procedures of bringing that truck down, that dump area, the dumper, I don't know what the official word would be. I'm not a trucker, so I don't know all the vocabulary they would use, is responsible for a death of someone who that sign hit as he was going through it, and it came down on him. As he went through it, the car behind him it came right down, and he had no possibility of even avoiding it. Responsibility. You might say it's scary. Yes, it is. Human responsibility is scary. But we are responsible for our actions. Some things may diminish our responsibility. There may be some very legitimate reasons that our responsibility for something is diminished by fear or some kind of psychological problem that we have. But the wisdom of God is still there in these commandments of God. And they begin with a very important preface, and I think that's very important too. That preface that begins the Ten Commandments is so instructive to us, that God delivered these commandments. I, who brought you out of Egypt, you are to serve no other gods. You are to keep my name holy. You are to keep my Sabbath as a day of rest. Those proclamations of why these commandments are so important, because they are given to the God who saves us and loves us. Let us live by them each day. God bless you.